Do I need to read? So obviously, this from Reddit. You got post comments about Suicide Watch. I have to die in 6 months, and then beneath that, Batman Arkham, because I'm a cocksucker. Yes, I am, and it's Superman with his tongue out. Again, I assume that someone will throw up the image on screen. Our editor will do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is obviously a humorous juxtaposition.
Yeah. Do you think that fits in with the song at the end of the movie?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I think you can, if you're ambitious enough, make "Because I'm a Cocksucker, Yes I Am" scan with any song. Transformers, "Because I'm a Cocksucker, Yes I Am." There we go. Thank you.
Good stuff there.
Hello and welcome to Select and Reflect, the movie review podcast where we look at films that come out in the near and distant past. We give them a couple of watches and evaluate them beyond first impressions. I'm your host Michael, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Luke. And this week we are celebrating the forthcoming release of the movie Supergirl. I always said, if there's going to be a Supergirl, shouldn't there be a Superman? Like the feminists are taking over. Well, for that reason, we're looking at the movie Superman 25. That's what I call it. I call it Superman 25. I don't know what you call it, but that's what I call it. Superman 25.
Okay. Yeah. No. Oh, sorry. I didn't realize you were asking me. Yeah. I call it that too.
Yeah. So Luke, why don't you tell us a thing or two about Superman 25?
Sure thing, Michael. So Superman 25, as you say, is a 2025, hence the name, American.
That's why they called it that.
American superhero film written and directed by James Gunn, based on the DC Comics character Superman. And of course we are reviewing this movie because of the upcoming release of Supergirl. Not Superwoman, just Supergirl. She's not quite a Superwoman yet.
Yeah. Well, there's Wonder Woman. So
I guess.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why it is that you don't get an alliteration. I mean, for some reason, Wonder Woman gets an alliteration, no one else does.
Yeah. I mean, it gets Super Wonder. Yeah, like they're too similar, aren't they? So
yeah,
it's going to be Supergirl, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is of course the first film in the DC universe, the DCU. And what was the other DC universe called, Michael?
DC Expanded U. DC Expanded Universe, DCEU.
Yeah. The DCEU, and this is just the DCU. So there you go. And of course, it is a reboot of the Superman film series. This is the fourth reboot, I believe. And we'll dive into that before we actually review the movie properly. Comparing it to Man of Steel, the last solo Superman movie, which of course was in 2013. I'm not even sure it's fair to say that this movie is a solo Superman movie, considering the amount of superheroes that are also in it. But anyway, there you go. Of course, written and directed by James Gunn. It stars David Corenswet.
God, I was like trying to remember how it wasn't Cock and Sweat. And I was like, isn't his name Cock and Sweat? Isn't that a funny name? And I was like, oh, Corenswet. That's much better.
He was in a gay TV series called Hollywood, I think. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I just know that because of Come Town. Then we have Rachel Brosnahan, Nicholas Hoult, Eddie Gathegi, Anthony Carrigan, Nathan Fillion, Isabella Merced. That last name, it looks like it should be Mercedes and someone's just missed out the last two letters, but no, it's Merced. Anyway, it was released on July the 11th, 2025, so almost a year ago. We've got Superman, then Supergirl, in back-to-back years. How lucky we are. And Michael, can you tell me what the budget was for Superman?
Yes, it was $200 million.
You would think so, wouldn't you?
It was. I'm gonna guess it was less. Is that what you're gonna say? Because maybe. I mean, I don't know. I was fucking imagining maybe James Gunn's a bit more. He's got more of a sense of being an independent kind of guy. But what are you gonna tell me?
It was more.
Okay.
No, he owns DC Studios now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or he doesn't own it. He runs it. But whatever. So the budget $225 million, which is quite high. And I guess, since it's the reboot of the DCU, and the first Superman movie once again, they were going to put that budget pretty high. But what about the box office, Michael?
$900 million.
Really? Why do you think that?
I guess I feel like this movie would have been quite successful. I mean, very successful because it's a Superman movie. But for some reason, I feel like maybe there was like enough superhero fatigue that it didn't hit the 1 billion. That's my thoughts.
You were right. There was a lot of superhero fatigue. But yeah, you don't really pay attention to these things, do you? Because I remember at the time there was a debate whether this movie underperformed. Because the actual box office is only 618 million. So yeah, you are quite far off there. I guess it's not a bad first outing, but you consider that Man of Steel.
Yeah, that's not great.
Man of Steel, 12 years before this movie, grossed, I think, around the same amount. And of course, with inflation, that means this is less. And, it had a higher budget than Man of Steel. So, yeah, it's not a great start. But again, considering how bad the previous DCEU was, which we'll get into in a bit, maybe it's not that bad given the context. So, Michael, can you tell me, did you like 2025's Superman?
You know what, Luke? I was surprised at just how much I disliked this movie. I overall found it to be to me, aside from anything else, it didn't really feel like Superman. I mean, look, I'm a loser. I guess like I actually probably even prefer those terrible movies from the 1970s. To me, it felt quite empty and difficult to connect to emotionally for a variety of reasons, which of course we'll get into. But yeah, the simple answer is that I didn't really like it very much at all.
I think this was okay. It was below par for what I expect of a superhero movie. Well, to be fair, all superhero movies nowadays are just awful. Like, things have really gone quite bad with the genre. I don't expect Supergirl or Spider-Man, what's it called, Brand New Day, to be masterpieces either. But yeah, things are quite bad. So yeah, I don't think I disliked it just because I'm like, it's better than Man of Steel, so there's that. But yeah, it wasn't good. It was below what I would expect. Certainly, again, you could compare this movie to James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy. Those movies, and those movies are better than this one. Even though I'm not a massive fan of Guardians of the Galaxy. But yeah, I also do think that this movie, it tries to do so many things. You agree with that?
Yes, I think trying to do too many. You said so many. I couldn't help myself but to Freudian slip and say too many. But yeah, trying to do a lot of things is definitely one issue I have with this film. I mean, maybe you're not saying it's an issue, but
no.
Don't let me interrupt you.
It is an issue. Your sound was amusing, but yeah,
yes,
it is an issue. Because the movie is only 2 hours long. So again, if it was 2 hours 30 minutes long, then maybe it wouldn't be an issue, and you could flesh out some stuff and it'd be better. But again, this movie is so fast paced. It means that a lot of things that this movie sets up or introduces, we don't see it through. Like, it dips its toes in a lot of things, like Lex Luthor, geopolitics, into Superman's character. And there are quote-unquote resolutions to these things, but I don't think they're that good, the resolutions to these things that the movie brings up. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's a mess, because it's not a mess, but it's organized chaos, and it would be maybe a bit better if it was less chaotic. Because then a lot of the things that the movie introduces, you could actually again flesh them out or fulfill them in a way which the movie doesn't. But yeah, we're going to get into all of that. So, Michael, do you have any nitpicks?
No, I don't actually.
Okay, I don't either. You could definitely find some, but again, this movie again, just like there's so much going on. It's so dense, that I'm like,
good.
Sorry.
Which makes it good because it's so dense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it means that there's just no point in like nitpicking certain little things. We've got to tackle the big plot points or ideas that the movie introduces. So let's talk about the plot.
On the plot, yeah. Superman faces unintended consequences after he intervenes in an international conflict orchestrated by billionaire Lex Luthor. Superman must win back public support with the help of his reporter and superhero colleagues. He also embarks on a journey to reconcile his Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing as Clark Kent.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff right there you've read out in that plot. Winning back public support because of his because of his upbringing and how that clashes with his parents from Krypton, what they wanted him to do on Earth. that's a big deal. I've got some thoughts on that, which aren't that good. And yeah, then the whole Lex Luthor thing as well. Why does he hate Superman? What's he trying to do? And then, of course, the whole geopolitical confrontation between Bravia and Jahanpur. And again, I don't really think that's done too well either. James Gunn wanted us, and maybe DC wanted to throw us into this universe right away. Because again, we haven't even mentioned the Justice Gang either. Those 3 superheroes.
Yeah.
We haven't even mentioned them either. Like, again, there's just so much stuff, and yeah, but they did not want to go down the Man of Steel path, which is like, let's just introduce this character like a normal superhero origin story, because it had already been done basically. And yeah, it's the same as the Batman. I don't know if you've seen the Batman, right?
Oh, I have seen the Batman, yes.
Yeah, like the Batman, we just get into the movie with the Batman being the Batman. There's no like origin story, because audiences know about Batman. They know his origin story, and I guess the DC Studios were like, we already know about Superman's origin story, so let's just throw the audience in here. And Lex Luthor is already established, as well. It's so yeah. I don't really think that was the best thing to do. Because again, like it's too fast paced. What do you think?
Well, I do agree. I feel like maybe I could contribute via discussing the production a bit, because I think that's very much related to what we're talking about. So
sure,
yes. I'll just say, after the troubled production of Justice League in 2017, Warner Brothers reevaluated its approach to DC projects. By the end of 2017, a Man of Steel sequel was not coming, quote, anytime soon, if at all. In 2018, Warner Brothers asked James Gunn to write and direct a Superman film, but he was uncertain if he wanted to take on the character. He did not have a clear vision, especially since Superman is a well-known character unlike the Guardians of the Galaxy. So yes, I mean, this gets at something else, I think, which is that James Gunn, he's clearly very good at wacky stuff, because obviously the Suicide Squad... Oh wait, no. Which one's the good one? It's the Suicide Squad. It's the good one.
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Yeah, they're really loving their definitive articles, aren't they? I'm surprised it isn't called The Superman. Anyway, obviously, that's also a good film about a wacky cast of characters. I think that is decidedly James Gunn's wheelhouse, and it seems pretty obvious to me that he... I don't know if he has the facilities for this big man. I don't know if he has the
I don't know. Big Shaq reference.
Yeah. I don't know if he has the temperament, I suppose, to tell a story like Superman, which, I mean, I think there's a few things about Superman which make it much less, or much more difficult, I think, to make him work with this format. And I would agree with your overall point that, I mean, it's kind of funny, because, of course, the thing that everyone criticized the DCEU for was jumping into everything too quickly. Like, when obviously Batman v Superman was the second film, everyone was saying, well, Marvel, they built it up, and that was that was a much more effective strategy. I mean, nowadays people don't really, like, it's easy to forget that I don't know if it's the majority, but a fair share of Marvel's generational run was smaller, more kind of intimate origin stories. And obviously that's what the DCEU screwed up. And now they're kind of doing the DCU, and it is better in some meaningful senses. But at least as far as that's concerned, they're kind of, it's almost like they're jumping straight to post Endgame Phase 4 Marvel with just throwing a whole load of shit.
Yeah, so, again, I think you're right with the, your criticism of the DCEU. Yeah, we had Batman v Superman like 3 years in, didn't we? And I don't think it wasn't a good movie, but yeah, I was like, that's really quick. Again, they just wanted to catch up to Marvel. They were too greedy. It's like, we got to just create this universe, and
a bunch of greedy Baravians, I would say.
Yeah, well, and we just need to do it quickly, and then it all fell apart because of poor planning and Zack Snyder as well. Just he doesn't know how to write good movies. So
doesn't know how to. I was going to try and make a really poor taste joke about obviously the reason why I eventually stepped away, but I couldn't think of a way to say it. So
yeah, well, it's good you didn't say that then.
Yeah, because that would have been really offensive. Because obviously,
Yeah. So this one again, we don't even have the setup. It's like a Superman sequel almost. That's what this movie is, because again, the audiences know what Superman is. And again, it's just not the way to do it, well, but how else can you do it? And then you've got, of course, James Gunn, who, again, his style, does it jive with Superman? I don't know if it really does do it. I think it could, but the thing is, if you want to introduce stuff like, again, geopolitics, then it's kind of hard to have this style, because then you're not. It's not sufficient in my mind. To do both, you can't do both basically. So yeah, but he chose to do that, and this is the result, which is kind of a below par movie, like I said.
It's kind of funny because really you can just, on some level, simplify the main criticism, just the fact this film is trying to do so much with the geopolitics, and then also, in a way, even though obviously we know the origin story, there's still a sense in which this character, he is a different manifestation of the character in terms of his personality, certainly to Man of Steel, where you have a very different kind of, a slightly more, let's say, dark, brooding version in Man of Steel. So obviously, like, this is different. So you've also got to kind of introduce this new version of Superman. So there is a lot to go, a lot happening. I thought of a take, which is people talk about there being a superhero origin movie problem, but I do wonder if sometimes it's also as much of a superhero origin movie problem if the problem is that it doesn't exist. And I'm not necessarily saying, I will say, like, I don't think they had to do... The funny thing is, Superman, he doesn't really have, like, a origin story in the way that Spider-Man and Batman do, because there, obviously, they start off without their powers, you see them get their powers, blah, blah, blah. With Superman, obviously, he basically just has the powers magically, so they could have done an origin story without having to go right back to showing everything on Krypton and all that. You just have an origin story.
But the thing is, it's also... Lex Luthor is also established as somebody who hates Superman. Like, there's no build-up. Yeah. Like, literally in the first scene, it's like, he hates Superman. He wants to destroy Superman. Okay, we're there already. Right, fine. Also, the Justice Gang, and also, like, Lois and Clark, they know each other, and they're dating each other. And, of course, Lois knows that Clark Kent is Superman. Like, it's... So, again, one of the best things about the 1978 movie is that when it came out was Lois maybe trying to figure out, but not quite knowing that Clark Kent was Superman. That was, the whole kind of gist of the movie. So everything is established. It's like, again, there was a movie beforehand, but before this movie, but there wasn't. And so I think, this movie, again, I think that, again, the strategy is, okay, everybody knows, like, the Superman stuff. We don't need to establish it, but they went too far in the wrong direction. Well, sorry, not in the wrong direction, but they went too far in the opposite direction. They went too far. They established too many things, basically.
Yes. Anyway, I'll proceed with some more of how we got this movie, though. In April 2022, Warner Brothers CEO David Zaslav began searching for an equivalent to Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige, as Zaslav and Warner Brothers Discovery, there we go, felt DC lacked a coherent creative and brand strategy and were underusing Superman.
So, they did lack a coherent creative brand strategy, because they went all in with Zack Snyder, and then, it turns out this guy doesn't know what he's fucking doing. He's got shit for brains with these movies, and also Superman is a character that people don't like, because, again, he's brooding, he's sad, he's not like a hero. He's very different to the Superman of the 70s and the 80s. So again, you saw a switch in the later DCEU so it was more like Marvel. But of course, there was no Superman really in the late DCEU either. That was maybe partly because of scheduling issues with Henry Cavill, and it's like, well, the Superman is unpopular. They decided, we've got to just restart it all. So I think, again, Man of Steel started the DCEU, and its failings led to, again, we need to reboot Superman, and therefore we need to reboot the entire DCU, which of course is what they did.
Yeah. In many ways, brave is, I think, the correct term.
Yes.
And I mean, they just got to wipe it out like a CGI'd mustache.
Yep.
I felt like that was the last. I felt like that was really it. That was when I was like, okay, no, we can't even make his upper lip work. We're not going to be able to change the whole character. Yeah. That's when they realized they couldn't fix it. Anyway, over the years, Gunn had considered how he would approach Superman if he were given another opportunity. In August 2022, he was hired to work on a Superman film that would be a standalone from the DCEU. He was hesitant to direct until Gunn realized how focusing on Superman's heritage with his aristocratic Kryptonian parents and farmer parents from Smallville, Kansas, would inform the characterization. Gunn felt emotionally connected to this aspect of the film because of his late father.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess that's where he wanted to put the focus.
Yeah, and that is the angle to take. There's a good angle, in terms of the contrast between Superman, and his humble, parents on Earth and his, Kryptonian parents. But the movie just doesn't utilize that enough, which I've said, which we'll get into. But yeah, again, like hiring James Gunn, not a bad choice really, but it's not the best choice either. Again, I don't know who you'd hire, to be honest, because I don't even think like Kevin.
Me.
I don't even think Kevin Feige has been that good at running Marvel. I think you could look at Marvel's success and think, yeah, okay, they've done some good stuff. Maybe that was Feige, but they've also got quite lucky. Obviously, everyone knows the Infinity Stones story. That was, of course, James Gunn's creation.
Yeah, absolutely. So, let's jump in. Right with the start, Superman stops the nation of Boravia from invading Jahanpur. In Metropolis, Superman is defeated by a metahuman called the Hammer of Boravia and flees to his fortress of Solitude. Robots use solar radiation to heal him and comfort Clark with a message from his birth parents, who sent him to Earth to save him from the destruction of Krypton. The message was damaged, so only the first half can be played. Clark returns to Metropolis and is again beaten by the Hammer, who is secretly Luthor's metahuman Ultraman.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah, a lot of stuff.
Yeah, you get hit by so much stuff in the first 15 minutes because, again, like you're establishing this world and you need the audience to know so much. So, yeah, I was rewatching it. You're like, wow, again, there's so much stuff in the first 15 minutes, like in the opening like section, which you need to absorb. So yeah, like there's of course the geopolitics with Boravia and Jahanpur. There's Clark and his parents. There's Lex Luthor, and there's the Hammer of Boravia, who is actually not the Hammer of Boravia. He's actually Ultraman. And
who is being controlled by Lex Luthor?
Yeah,
like Mysterio style.
Yes. So yeah, all of that happens really quickly, and it's like, okay, right. Again, if you had
you get that like wall of text at the start. It's like the 333 thing, and I was like, how far are they going to go? Because it's like 300, or I can't remember. It was like 30 years ago there were first metahumans. 3 years ago there was Superman. It was just like this big long list of all of the different things. It was just like, wow, there's a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It is a lot. Yeah, so now it's time to get into, well, we're doing a bit of a format change, really, where basically, Michael, we each have some talking points which we've decided, which of course are related to stuff that happens in the movie, and you're up first with your first talking point, so this is going to differ slightly to how we've done reviews in the past.
Yes.
So yeah, Michael, what do you want to talk about with your first talking point?
Well, the first of all, it's criticism we've kind of already touched on, which is that the film I didn't like the way it starts off with all this expository dialogue, because we need to be caught up on how this world is. A lot of the dialogue in the start is pretty bad. My favorite example of that, well, I don't even know if it is my favorite example. It's one I decided to write down, was when this woman, I don't even fucking know her name. Oh, she's called the engineer. She's like, I know Lex. I sacrificed so they're talking about, Superman being a problem. She's like, I know Lex. I've sacrificed my humanity to help you get rid of it. It's just like that line to me. Anyway, the result of this is this world feels so radically different from our own, I don't really connect to it. Superman's good when he's introduced to a pretty normal world that's not expecting him, but here Superman is presented as barely even a novelty, and that's a major problem. Yeah, that's basically my issue with, because I kind of already said, I think earlier on, Superman, he doesn't, I think, work that well for this kind of crazy story. Because I feel like Superman, the entire point is supposed to be that he's Superman. He's like just this generic super guy. So when you throw all of these other things into the mix, especially in the intro when he hasn't really had any time to shine, I think it's a bit of an issue. I don't know how much of an issue you think it is.
I think I'd say Superman, or the concept of Superman, when you're watching a movie, or I don't know, any other media involving him, the concept of him, it's at its best when, again, he's in this pretty normal world, and it's like, oh, it's Superman. Like, it's this crazy guy, who obviously can do all these things, and he's so different. He's such an anomaly. And of course, the movie, decides, we're not going to explore that at all. Again, that would be something you would explore in an origin story, and this movie just doesn't care about. Well, it's just like, we're skipping that. So I don't think it's a problem that Superman is barely even a novelty. I don't think it's a problem. It's just that you've missed out on the opportunity to see Superman at his best, in terms of like what I think his best role would be in a story. And because of course it's reasonable, once you've done that, which of course Man of Steel did, to have like sequels, and obviously in these sequels you'd introduce like more metahumans, and the public would get more used to Superman, and he would be more of a just a regular fixture. Of course, that was naturally what would happen. Like again, when's the last time we had a good Superman origin movie, Michael? When has it?
I think it's literally the first and only. The first Superman origin movie, because they haven't even. Obviously, I mean, they did because they had Superman Returns. As far as I know, you've literally just the only Supermans we've had have been, what's his name, Christopher Reeves.
Yes.
Ralph something. I can't remember the name of the guy who plays him in Superman Returns. And then obviously it's just been Henry Cavill and this guy. Yeah. That's the thing. So
no, it's again, there's just not been a lot of good movies.
We've only had 2 Superman origin stories in total.
Yeah.
Because obviously Superman Returns wasn't an origin story.
Yeah, and 2013 wasn't good. So yeah. It's like, and again, 1978, it's so long ago, it's almost 50 years.
Almost 50 years ago, goodness me, yeah.
Yeah, again, James Gunn, DC, they clearly weren't interested in doing that, so you miss out on what could have been really good. But there you go, maybe they were hamstrung by the fact that, because Man of Steel did a proper origin story, we just can't do it. But yeah, instead, this is what you get. Then this is what you have to put up with, like the opening 15 minutes of, like, as you say, you just jump straight into it, and it's crazy, and it's like you hit with all these ideas, and so much exposition, man, so much exposition, and it doesn't create a great viewing experience. Which is also an issue.
Yeah, I think like the other aspect of it, because obviously, I mean, I think a very strong contender for the best superhero movie ever, in terms of it being, or certainly the best superhero origin story, in terms of it having that big superhero energy, would be Spider-Man. And that obviously works well because it has that. And even, by the way, Spider-Man Homecoming does a similarly kind of good job at this. But that thing of you start off slow, you kind of build into it. And I do think that is better. I think ultimately, I just imagine I'm always going to prefer a hypothetical version of a Superman movie where it maybe possibly doesn't start off with him in Smallville. I don't need to go that far back, but maybe like starts off with him. It's his first day at the Daily Planet. And whatever. I feel like it is slightly better because this movie is so far away from that. Like it literally starts off with him, as we said, fighting so many people all at once. Crazy.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, another thing which I suppose is more complicated by. Or is another example of something that isn't built up would be the relationship between Clark and Lois. This was one of your criticisms. Superman agrees to be interviewed by Lois Lane, his girlfriend and reporter colleague at the Daily Planet, leading to an argument when Lois presses him on the legal and ethical implications of his actions in Baravia. I will be honest, I didn't mean to put words in your mouth there. You mentioned before that you obviously you don't have that same kind of Clark-Lois will they, won't they thing here. They're just totally established, but obviously there are good aspects of this relationship, I think.
So it's not necessarily a criticism that Clark and Lois already know each other, but they do already know each other. And again, I think you miss out on some of the drama that you can have, and some of the fun with Lois not knowing but maybe suspecting that of course Clark is Superman. So again, you miss out on what makes Superman so good by just skipping that, storyline, which is what this movie does again with these two characters as well. But let's talk about this actual, this scene where, of course, Superman is being interviewed by Lois, because it is interesting.
It was in the trailer, which I remember, and people were very kind of like intrigued by that. Yeah, because I
do like the scene. I think it's a nice premise, and it does work in isolation. And it's it's a good idea, but the problem is, again, this is what I've kind of been saying up until now, the world that they're living in, it doesn't feel that realistic, and it doesn't feel grounded, and so this kind of back and forth would hit harder in a less fun world or in a more serious world.
Yeah, it would hit harder in a fucking Man of Steel.
It would.
It has to be said, but it would.
It definitely would hit harder in Man of Steel. But again, Zack Snyder's such a bad writer that he couldn't conceive of something like this. But Superman as a character, of course, is stupid in terms of how powerful he is. But the Lois Lane Daily Planet connection, obviously, he's in a relationship with Lois Lane, works for the Daily Planet, which is, of course, like the biggest newspaper on Earth, apparently, I think. That connection allows you to get political. It allows you, just forget about like the character of Superman and how ridiculous he looks and how powerful he looks. Okay, he's Lois Lane, a Pulitzer-winning reporter, I think. and then the Daily Planet. Okay, so now we can get political, and this scene shows that it's possible. But then, again, what's frustrating is again the world around it. It doesn't really feel connected really to the scene because the movie doesn't follow through with the points that Lois made.
Yeah,
and the rest of the movie doesn't live up to the seriousness of the conversation. Which of course is disappointing, like she's talking about the ramifications, the geopolitical ramifications of Superman going into another country and stopping a war, and does the movie like bring any of this up again? No, not really. It just introduces these ideas and then forgets it, and that is frustrating because a good movie would have follow through with these ideas that are brought up in this conversation because that conflict is good. It's inherent. It's smart. I say it's inherent. It is inherently there with Superman. Of course it is. It's interesting. But then again, we just forget about it because we've got so many other stuff, so much other stuff to go through. And James Gunn he's not that smart a guy. Probably he doesn't really feel like the need to write a serious political thriller. I mean, think about it. Like Lois, she's kind of going at Clark in the scene or taking him down a peg, and kind of questioning his actions. But she just spends the rest of the movie trying to help save Clark, doesn't she? That's that they never revisit this. Like it's this conflict.
No,
This conflict is never revisited.
I think that's a really good way. But I think this movie it does, and it's kind of inevitable, right? So it does just introduce a load of threads and then never really tie them all together. Ultimately, this just isn't a movie about... Well, in a way, you almost want to say, and it's a terrible thing to say, but you almost feel like this movie ends up not being about anything. It's really not about, like... I mean, I think there is one thing, and, this, I think, will be the thing that we'll get to by the conclusion. There's ultimately one thing this movie it could most of all be said to be about, but it's certainly not about the geopolitical implications of Superman as, a world-building device.
Again, if you wanted to make a serious Superman movie, you could do that. You could, because again, despite the character, you could do that. And again, like this kind of scene would be in that hypothetical serious movie.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, James Gunn, like, he's not the kind of guy to write a political thriller, which makes me think, like, why did he conceive of the scene in the first place? Was he just like, oh, well, Lois and Clark have got to fight, so let them fight about this? And he's not really, like, he's not really concerned about the actual, like, what they're fighting about, the substance of it. He's just like, let them fight about it. Oh, this is good. But, you brought up some interesting ideas that you just don't want to continue with, which is...
It almost seems like there's the alternative is, like, he brought them in up because he was like, well, a movie's got to have themes, so I'll have a scene where some characters talk about some stuff that sounds thematic. I don't know.
It's almost as if he didn't write it, but let's move on.
Yeah, so, and we'll move on to another criticism of mine, which is too much action too quickly. We start literally at the end of an action scene, of course. It felt like there was just constant scenes of Superman fighting giant existential threats with very little build-up in between them. The worst moment of this is when they release that gremlin, and they're like, it'll get bigger, and then the very next scene, it's the size of a skyscraper. That summarizes the entire movie in 2 scenes for me. I will say, the funny thing about that is that as I'm saying that now, I'd first of all completely forgotten that thing. Is that Parasite? Or, like, isn't it, I don't know, maybe... I feel like it probably is because obviously these movies they use the original source material as a thing. So I assume that's supposed to be something from the original source material.
I read it was meant to be like a kaiju thing that James Gunn was inspired by Godzilla -1.
Okay, yeah, but obviously, it's crazy how irrelevant that scene feels, and I feel I want to say that it's literally just the context of it. It's like supposed to be a distraction, and that's it.
Well, it doesn't even fucking make sense, and this is what I was going to complain about because Lex Luthor releases it into Metropolis for it to be a distraction. But like, why does Superman need to be distracted? Like, if Lex Luthor has already gone to the Fortress of Solitude, he's already got what he needs, which is the message from his parents. So why does he need to distract Superman here? Like again, it's fucking crazy. Again, the fast pace is it's so mad because like straight after this fight. The second after it's done, we have Lex Luthor on the TV saying that Superman has been sent to destroy Earth, and he's got the footage to prove it. It's like literally like a second after the fight ends. It's like, why did you need to distract Superman? You could have just done this already at you pick your time of day. You've got all the footage. So again, it's just an excuse because again, James Gunn. Or maybe Warner Brothers, they were like scared or shit. Like we got to appeal to like the Gen Z or Gen Alpha as well. Like,
yeah, it made me look up from my phone when the big thing was on screen.
Yeah, these kids, and also actually that he's probably thinking we need to introduce the Justice Gang. So okay, there's this monster, and let's Lex Luthor use Lex Luthor is the one responsible for this monster, so we can tie it in with the plot because that's clever. Even though it doesn't make sense. So you might as well I've just had a monster attack Metropolis, and it's not connected to Luthor. If you can't come up with a good way for Luthor to be responsible for this, and if you want to introduce the Justice Gang, I suppose. But yeah, it's just shit. And of course, we get into my next talking point, which is Superman's parents' revelation.
Yes.
Yes.
Luthor infiltrates the fortress and discovers the Kryptonian message. The engineer restores the damaged portion. Luthor broadcasts the Kryptonian message, and Superman is shocked to hear the second half, in which his parents urge him to conquer Earth and take many wives to restore the Kryptonian race.
Okay.
Suddenly, it makes sense why he supports the Palestinians, because he's got a harem. I like how they use the word harem multiple times.
Yeah. So of course this is a massive fucking deal, isn't it? It's a massive deal to the whole Superman universe.
Yes.
Lex Luthor's going into the Fortress of Solitude to try and find something he can use against Superman, and then he finds imagine you're trying to destroy someone, like someone's someone's image, and then you find like a video of their parents saying, "Hey, we want you to enslave the Earth."
It would be like finding out Trump's dad was racist.
You must feel like you've won the lottery. Like Lex Luthor must feel like he's won the lottery. He got what he wanted and more by going into Superman's fortress. But we don't Lex Luthor. The movie kind of acts like it's part of Lex Luthor's plan. Like he knew that message was in there. The problem is, because the movie acts like that, we don't see Lex Luthor see the message for the first time. We see that Latina fucking engineer girl deciphering the message, but Lex is just looking at her. He doesn't know what the fuck these Kryptonians are saying. He doesn't know what's going on. And again, I would love a scene, or it would just make sense for there to be a scene where Lex Luthor sees or just hears the message, and he's like, "Holy shit! Superman does want to destroy us. Oh my god, this is incredible!" But we don't see that. And the movie just forgoes that potential drama. It's kind of crazy if you think about it. Which I have. Yeah.
I mean, it's also interesting on a meta level, of course, because this is a huge thing within the universe.
Yes.
Although at the same time, we don't really have an appreciation for that because of the fact that we haven't seen any much of Superman in this narrative. But yeah, obviously, traditionally, I'm pretty sure I'm right that. I mean, I don't know. They've done fucking everything in comic books, so maybe this is a case in one of the comic books. But the standard narrative is that Superman was sent to Earth by his loving parents to be good and a symbol of hope and blah 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 blah. So this revelation that he was actually his parents wanted him to be a god and essentially be, I suppose, a benevolent dictator would be, being generous, at least benevolent. But yeah, that's crazy, and you almost feel like, I mean, they don't even. I'm trying to think about how it actually plays out in the film. There's not really a sense of shock to it.
Well, I'm going to talk about how Superman reacts to that, but just with Luthor again, there should be a scene where someone's like, "Hey, Lex, we've decoded the the message. You're going to want to hear this," and then he listens to it, and he's like, "Oh my god, I cannot believe this," and then
he drops something dramatically.
Yeah. He's praying, and he's like, "Thank you." Oh my god, I get to being really.
I think we should see him come. We should just zoom in on his face.
Yeah,
he just his eyes are rolling back. He's like,
yeah, again, this Luthor is pretty dramatic, the way Nicholas Hoult plays him, which is cool.
Yeah,
that's fine. Very different to Gene Hackman Luthor, but that's fine. Have him be over dramatic in this moment. That would be fine. But again, this movie, because this again, I think the reason why we don't get this necessary scene, it's a consequence of there being so much shit that needs to be put in this movie. So yeah, we just don't get this. This movie cannot be slow paced. It cannot take its time with anything and properly execute a plot point like this that it needs to execute. So yeah, also it is of course convenient, like the second half of the message is, but we didn't get to hear that. Superman didn't get to hear that, but I can forgive it. I can forgive the movie for that. I'll accept it.
Well, I do like also how like now that we have AI and everything, they're just like no, we checked and we definitely know this is legit. I called in my Kryptonian science expert, my Kryptonian video decoding experts, and they have confirmed this is obviously you just have to have it be the case that everyone accepts it, and that's fine. I think AI, I feel like functionally you have to just say that AI doesn't exist in movies because otherwise any dramatic reveal doesn't actually work. But it's fine.
Also, again, we talked about Lex Luthor's reaction, Superman's reaction. Again, it's just not enough. Again, this is a big fucking deal. It's a big deal because again, the universe now, Earth is now completely different. Lex Luthor has gotten what he's wanted. All along, the chance to destroy Superman, and Superman, his whole world has changed. And who obviously what he thinks of himself. But when he actually hears that message from his parents again, and he's never heard that part of the message before, his reaction is so muted to what you'd expect.
Yeah, he seems like he's kind of like, oh, this is gonna fucking hurt my brand image. He's just annoyed, oh, this is gonna be a bit of an issue. Whoopsie.
His whole world is shaken, and he's just pissed off. He cares more about his fucking dog. Then oh yeah, his parents sent him to Earth for nefarious reasons that he had no idea about. That would shatter your world almost. And again, he just cares more about the dog. If I was writing this movie and this had happened, I'd have Superman again fly to the Fortress of Solitude and tell his fucking robots to play the message so he can see it for himself because he just can't believe it. He's like, I can't believe this, or he'd play it himself because the robots are all destroyed. But yeah, he'd listen to it again and again. He's just like, I can't believe this, and he's slumped down, dejected. But we don't get any of that. It's poor. You've set up something quite good. I do like the setup. Again, it's just really poorly executed, unfortunately. And also, all the crowd throwing shit at him, they'd be scared and running away from him.
Yeah.
But I just don't find that believable either. But whatever.
Yeah, you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us. Okay. Anyway, we mentioned a lot about Lex Luthor and his muted reaction. I would like to talk about Lex Luthor if you'd forgive me.
Well, no, it was Superman who had a muted reaction. We didn't see Lex Luthor's reaction to the revelation.
Yes, okay, yes, fair point, yes. His reaction was so muted, it didn't... Well, technically speaking, of course, muted actually means silent, so there we go. Lex Luthor, I did like the fact that here he is more of a threat, because I always found it really stupid how Gene Hackman and Kevin Spacey, the second that they actually have an encounter with Superman, they can just be defeated incredibly easy. Having said that, he is way too powerful in this movie, and he just starts off being way too powerful, so you don't get to sort of see him develop those abilities to take on Superman. And I feel like if you did see him develop those abilities, you could then parallel that with his growing anger at Superman. I mean, in a way, I'm sorry, but fucking Man of Future Dawn of Justice, what was it called? Superman vs. Batman Dawn of Justice did it better in that you had Lex Luthor kind of... He had his weird little megalomaniacal rants about, I fucking hate Superman. I don't like him at all. And while he's doing that, you can see him coming up with his schemes. Oh, look, we investigated, we found some crypto. I mean, he fucking just fight. It's just revealed off screen. Yeah, I found this guy, Mr. Element Man, and he could just create kryptonite. Yeah, easy peasy. That's the thing. It all just seems like. The issue is it's handed to him, which isn't just a problem in terms of logic or anything like that, but also characterization, because I feel like the best opportunity to build up his character motivation would also be seeing his powers develop.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, fucking Spider-Man, right?
Yeah.
Green Goblin. You see his motivation and his powers all in one scene.
Yeah, so I think that him being as powerful as he is kind of fine. Because again, he needs to be a suitable threat, to Superman, and he can only be a good threat to Superman if he's incredibly powerful and has the Element Man and has the Pocket Universe and all of this shit. Otherwise, again, Superman is just so powerful that of course, it would be, he needs to be like a god. He needs to be like Elon Musk, times 5, in terms of his power. Also, well, something else you said about his motivations, that is an issue because he really hates Superman, and of course we know this because that's that's the deal in the comic books. Lex Luthor hates Superman, and everyone is aware of this. So, do we need to explain it? He can no, he just hates aliens. Why? Why does he hate aliens, or Superman specifically? Because I mean, he has a line later on in the movie where it's like, oh yeah, brains beats brawn. But yeah, like why would he be so pissed off with Superman? Again, like can you imagine like fucking again Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg, so say Superman exists right now in real life. Can you imagine them spending all their time and effort like trying to destroy Superman for like no reason?
Yeah.
It'd be like, unless Superman did something specifically to piss them off. It's like, why do you care? Like, you're like, this guy's a rich billionaire who does whatever he wants. Why does he care about Superman? Like, again, you need to give me something more than just like ideology, and it's a very flimsy ideology. That's the thing. It's like, oh, I hate aliens. It's just kind of shit. So yeah, that's the issue. Also, again, talking about the geopolitics and all of that, how realistic this movie is, because Lex Luthor shows up at the Pentagon, and
yes,
it's like, here's Ultraman, and it just doesn't feel realistic at all, to be honest. Like it just doesn't.
Yeah.
And again, if you're introducing the Pentagon and like, the political implications of like. Luthor Corps, what do they call, like Planet Watch, teaming up with the U.S. security services. It's like, again, you gotta do it better than this. I know it's like a fun movie and all, but I'm sorry, you gotta do it better, because what you're doing is you're critiquing like these billionaires and how close they are to like Palantir, for instance, how close Palantir is with the US national defense system and
military industrial complex.
Yeah, and Peter Thiel, that's what you're critiquing, and this movie, again, and it's a good critique, but yeah, this movie just doesn't do it anywhere near enough. It's so like just immature. Maybe immature is the wrong word, but those scenes are just written like poorly, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's an issue. Also, his pocket universe. What do you think of his pocket universe?
I mean, again, I guess the only thing I'd say, it was a bit much. Like, it kind of seems like it's like, okay, he can just do anything. I mean, within the context of the film, there's so much other like crazy shit happening. I guess I didn't have any particular sense of like it being that stupid. I did think it was a bit over the top in terms of how evil it is that he, just has like girlfriends he doesn't like and he just keeps them there. But I mean, I guess there's no rule that says he can't be that evil. Why, do you have like a specific criticism of it, or did you like it?
No,
So it was like whatever.
Again, I think it is kind of fine because he is very powerful, so
Yeah.
it makes sense. Again, like if he is to take on Superman, he needs to be extremely powerful. So having this pocket universe, again, it's very unrealistic. But at the same time, again, it does, I think, fit in with the tone of this movie of being, like kind of out there, and not grounded. So again, this movie isn't grounded, so that's fine. But again, just like the pocket universe in contrast to Lois and Clark's like discussion, like or interview, and slash fight earlier on in the movie, just a massive contrast there. But yeah, it's okay. My big issue is it's so easy for Superman to get out of the pocket universe.
Oh yeah. Like that's it. It kind of just like basically.
Yeah.
The second that the guy who is having his child threatened realizes that Superman can easily save his child if they work together, it's like Lex didn't think that one through.
Yeah.
Kind of a stupid moron.
Yeah, and it's this big deal apparently, but then he's out so quickly, Superman, in like 15 minutes from when he enters. So yeah, that's my big problem with this pocket universe. Really, it's that it's actually not that big a deal, even though it should be. But whatever. Anyway, so
it's very much pocket sized.
Good point. My next talking
We've
point.
spoken about Planet Watch.
Is the Justice Gang? Yes.
Lois visits the Justice Gang, a team composed of Heroes, Green Lantern, Mr. Terrific, and Hawk Girl. I prefer Hawk Tour. Lois convinces Mr. Terrific to help find Superman, and they enter the Pocket Universe, rescuing him. Yes, this is the Justice Gang. I mean, obviously, it's part of the wider theme of there's a lot going on in this film.
Yes.
Do you have any? I mean, is there much to say beyond that?
Well, yeah. Like you said, a lot is going on. James Gunn can't just write a solo Superman movie. He has to include this Justice Gang, because otherwise, I guess he just feels more comfortable, like with Superman in kind of a club, even though he's not in this gang specifically. But yeah, it's an interesting like group of characters. Guy Gardner has some personality. He is memorable, which is good.
Yes.
That's what you want.
I actually didn't realize it was Nathan Fillion until you read out the thing, and I was like, oh.
Yeah,
that's who it was. Because I was like, "Who is that guy?" I literally spent the entire thinking, "It's not Woody Harrelson. It's not." My brain's telling me Woody Harrelson, but it's not Woody Harrelson. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, but my frustration with the Justice Gang is, a similar frustration I've talked about throughout this review. Initially they're like, yeah, we don't want to help, Superman because he's been detained by the US government. We don't want to go against the US government. And then Mr. Terrific does eventually just help Lois. And why does he do that?
Lack of motivation.
Because he says he wants to piss off Guy Gardner. Again, it's just pretty flimsy, so whatever. And then, the scene of him owning everybody. Mr. Terrific, he's a good character. I do like him. But, the scene of him owning everybody before, they enter the Pocket Universe, that's too James Gunn. That's so James Gunn. Like, the scene I'm talking about.
Oh, like when he's, like, beating up all the people at Planet Watch.
Yeah, and he's going, fun, fun, fun.
Oh, yeah, and they do the fucking music. Yeah, sorry, yeah, I was thinking that. I was like, yeah, this is very... Yeah. James Gunn, yes.
Sun. Yeah, like it's like we get it.
Yeah, we get it, you loser.
We get it, man. But yeah, what are the consequences of Mr. Terrific doing that? By the way, or the Justice Gang stopping Barovia from invading Jahanpur or whatever the fuck it's called. Like, because again, like that's a big fucking deal, obviously. And these guys, the conversation Lois had with Guy Gardner earlier on, in the movie, it's like, the Justice Gang don't want to go, we don't want to go against, the US government, again, they're part of like a corporation, like the Lord Corporation, that's what they say, that's...
Yeah, it's like sponsored by the Lord Corporation.
Yeah, isn't it like Maxwell Lord who controls them, or whatever?
Oh, Maxwell Lord, he's from fucking Wonder Woman 1984.
Yes.
Oh, what a great movie.
Yes. Pedro Pascal, shout out.
Yes.
But yeah, so again, we're thinking about the, political implications. We're thinking about the reality of like a superhero, gang, going against a government, then all of a sudden we're not, and all of a sudden all of that shit doesn't matter. And yeah, there are just no... And you could say Superman inspired these guys to, do the right thing, which is true to some extent, but yeah, it's just frustrating when you set up these reasons, these realistic reasons as to why these people can't intervene in certain conflicts, and then just actually no, we are going to intervene in these conflicts. This movie enters like the political reality of like what it would be like if superheroes existed when it wants to, and then just drops that reality when it's convenient to the plot. That's what I think happens, and again, the Justice Gang is another example of that.
Yeah, well, speaking of political reality, I feel like we should move on to the reason why all the conservatives hated this movie, right? Which is that it portrays Israel. Well, so yes, exactly. So Baravia, or whatever it's called, I still forget what it's called, but I don't care. There's like an Israel parallel in this movie. I think that's fair to say. You have this place called... Is it Baravia? Am I right about that? Baravia, good. So... Baravia, which is a load of Eastern Europeans, which is obviously what all the Israelis are. And then you have a place which is Jandahar.
Oh my god, you've literally read out these fucking names, you retard. It's Jahanpur, something like that.
Jahanpur.
I have not got it exactly right, but the fact that you can't even get it
Jandahar
closely right is unbelievable.
Jahanpur. Okay, yeah, there we go. So, and then basically like that's seems way too, like, it doesn't even seem like these two countries should be bordering each other, but whatever. The whole thing, it feels like so Israel-Palestine, where you got the Israelis coming in, they're like, oh, we're gonna fucking genocide these people, ethnically cleanse them. You got the little kid there like, oh no, please don't go, we're being boxed in. Sorry, I'm not saying that to make fun of them, but it's just how it is. Obviously the connection is crazy. Two issues. One is that this is like a very small thing. I mean, and in a way, it's sort of like, if you're going to include this, I feel like you ought to make it more of an exploration of it. But then I also feel like, I don't know, the whole thing doesn't really make much sense. The other issue is that this is clearly trying to add like a human element, but you literally have Lex Luthor. This was like a moment where I was like, oh, okay, this stood out as kind of annoying. When Lex Luthor, like in the middle of the whole Baravian thing happening, Lex Luthor's just like, well, it's after it's been defeated, he's like, oh, well, you stupid idiot, I don't care about that. It doesn't matter to me at all. It's like, okay, so it's good when you have someone literally declare in the final climactic moment that the entire like human dimension to the conflict is completely irrelevant. I thought that was a bold move.
I think that's fine because it's irrelevant to Lex Luthor. Israel and Palestine is a close parallel to this, but also you could look at it as like Russia versus Ukraine, because it's certainly like the fucking Barovians seem like Eastern European, like they're not Israeli, like the way they talk. And then, but then of course Jahanpur, they're not Ukrainians. They seem like, again, Palestinians. It's tough, man. But then I do remember James Gunn saying that he wrote this before like the Israel-Palestine conflict heated up in October.
Oh, really? I was going to say, I see. So you said heated up. I was like, oh, really? He wrote it in 1944, did he?
Yeah. Yeah. He wrote it in but before it heated up in October 2023, and of course, that tracks with the timeline. I again, he started writing the Superman movie in the start of 2023, so it is somewhat believable. It's too ambiguous in my opinion. I can't say yes for sure Superman is on the Palestinian side and the Moravians are the evil Israelis, but what I will say is this is my issue with this storyline, is that Lex Luthor is teaming up with the Moravians, and it's not the U.S. government. Apparently the U.S. government is not on the side of the evil Moravians. And again, you could say, well, that means that this conflict is more, is resembling, Russia and Ukraine more than it's resembling Israel-Palestine, because of course, the U.S. wouldn't supply weapons to Russia. But then again, I think it would be pretty crazy for a US, a corporation to supply weapons to Russia, in the Russia-Ukrainian war. But yeah, again, if it is meant to be like an Israel-Palestine parallel, then the US government, having no involvement in this, and it's all on just this one evil billionaire, who's in bed with the Moravians. That's the issue I have, because that is just, again, totally letting the United States off the hook. But of course, if it's about Russia, Ukraine, then that's fine. But again, then there's the issue of, this is actually about Russia and Ukraine and not Israel, Palestine. So again, like I said before, too ambiguous, Michael, too ambiguous. But whatever the situation is, there is some criticism that needs levied at this. Levied at this situation. But again, I do like this concept of putting this like geopolitical conflict in a Superman movie, because again, it's like testing Superman.
Well, it's like a quest for peace. Superman 4, the quest for peace.
Yeah, exactly.
It's about, he's fighting war itself.
Yeah, fighting war, fighting geopolitics, fighting, putting Superman in, again, like, it's kind of like what Man of Steel or Batman versus Superman does, putting Superman in real life, in a real life, like, political situation, and, but again, it's just, the issue overall, though, of course, is, at the end, of course, the Justice Gang come in and save the day, but there's no political consequences for that. Are there? Not in this movie at least. So it's like, oh yeah, you can do that. All the critiques that Lois brought up earlier on in the movie. Yeah,
they just go out the window. Yeah,
exactly. They go out the window as well.
They are defenestrated.
Yeah, you're trying to be smart with this. To be fair, I don't know if James Gunn is trying to be smart with this geopolitical like storyline in this movie, but then it fails. There's not a good resolution. Although I do find it funny that Hawk Girl kills the president of Bravia. Did you catch that?
Yeah. She said, like, she just drops him. I can't remember. She says like a line. I can't remember what the line is.
I'm not Superman. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's it. I'm not Superman. Yeah, that's it. Well, I mean, speaking of not being Superman, let's talk about Superman's character. Mm-hmm. Lois takes Superman to recuperate with his adoptive human parents, Jonathan and Martha Kent. Jonathan tells the demoralized Superman that his choices and actions determine who he is, not the message from his birth parents. At the end of the movie, the robots comfort Superman with footage of his childhood on Earth with his human parents. This is like such a good ending, but it's like one of those good endings that annoys you, because that's not really what the film is about. Like, I feel like this idea, it would work so well with... It's so weird, because like, obviously, as we've established, this film is strongly committed to not doing a standard Superman origin story and not starting off small, literally starting off smallville. But then it ends on this thing of, the thing that really matters for Superman is his connection to his just plain human parents, his regular life on Earth. It's like, that doesn't really work with the rest of the film. So it's a really, like, I was like, when that happened, and he's like, we'll show you the footage of the past. Like, that's great.
I disagree. Tell me, and do it simply and quickly, why doesn't it work with the rest of the film?
Well, because the rest of the film is about like these giant alien space monsters and stuff like that. And
that's fine.
He doesn't spend like any time at all. Like, he has that one scene hanging out of his parents. But I'm saying, like, for me, I would say in order for it to work, you would need a scene at the start that like either flashes back to, I mean, probably flashes back, but or starts off with his parents, and like you can see him growing up. Like for example, I mean, the scene when fucking in Man of Steel, when Superman starts crying, he's like, "Oh, can't I just be your son?" And Kevin Costner hugs him. He's like, "You will always be my son." That's a good scene.
You're right, that is a good scene, but that's the thing. I think inherently the storyline does work if you can just add in one flashback scene and then all of a sudden it works, you know?
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. So I suppose maybe I don't mean the storyline stuff. I just mean like the focus of this film on much big stuff.
I think you're right in terms of there's not enough focus on this plot point on Superman, asking himself whether he's human or not. I do think that, you're right. There isn't enough focus on that, but you can have big monsters, and like these crazy things happening with the pocket.
I think it works as a point of contrast. Like that's how it'd be best. It's like, oh look, there's all of these fucking like aliens and things, but the thing that keeps Superman grounded is his family life. That would work really well, but I don't think we can say they do that. But that would work with this plot.
Yeah, again, well, they do have that scene at the start where he calls his mum and dad when he's going into the office. So again, I don't think it starts poor. I just again think the resolution is poor because again an interesting idea is set up, but there's so much stuff going on in this movie that you can't get a good resolution to this storyline because it's just so easy for Superman to become Superman again. It's easy for Clark to see the flag on the TV and he gets a little speech from his dad and that's enough. It's a big fucking deal. Like this guy has been told all his life he's here to serve Earth, and then actually no, we want you to rule over Earth, and then he gets over it like relatively quickly. Because it doesn't really affect his actions. This revelation. The message from his parents. I think what would work is if Superman doesn't step in to a conflict because he feels like he shouldn't step in because of this revelation, and he would have stepped into this conflict if he hadn't heard that revelation from his Kryptonian parents. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like I mean, again, like Spider-Man 2.
Yes.
So again, Spider-Man's just such a good frame reference for like what a good movie does. But yeah.
Yeah, like again, if that revelation affects his actions, so he's not like the superhero anymore that he wants or he was previously and wants to be, but that doesn't really happen. There's again not a moment in the movie like again you referenced Spider-Man 2. There's not like a Spider-Man 2 moment in this movie, unfortunately. Then everyone does kind of like him at the end because it's like, oh yeah, actually Superman was good. He was trying to save the world, and it's like, yeah, that's true. But didn't you know that already? Like again, the bigger issue still is for the world. Like that thing about his parents. That's that's not going away, is it? So I
they don't tackle it head on.
But I just had a question, by the way, about Jahanpur, or the plan for Lex Luthor.
Jahandhar,
yeah, whatever the fuck it's called. Do you think it was too comical that the way Lois and Jimmy Olsen figured out that fucking Luthor was trying to divide Jahanpur is that Luthor's ex sent Jimmy Olsen like selfies with these documents and maps in the background? Was that too comical?
That's an interesting question. It's one of those things where it's kind of niche enough as a concern or unimportant enough as a concern that compared to everything else, I don't know if I can bring myself to care about it.
That's fair enough. Yeah, it was just something I'm like...
I can see that logic,
It's riding the line, because of course it's a comical movie somewhat. It is, again, a James Gunn movie. It's got a lighter tone than Man of Steel, of course. So this plot point, again, it doesn't really piss me off, but I'm like, it seems like a pretty big deal. Yeah. And it is played for laughs somewhat, but yeah.
Yeah, I also found it weird they have like two bimbos in this movie, because they have obviously Lex Luthor's girlfriend, and they have that blonde chick who's works at the paper. It's like, pick one. But yes, anyway, next criticism of mine, which is that this movie, in contrast to lots of other movies, I think has a bit of a structural problem. The other movies, the general rule is you introduce the stakes, maybe introduce character, you introduce the plot and all that kind of stuff, and then you have the second act low point. Oh no, it's all gone for our hero. He's all gone wrong. And then there's a resolution. Yay! This movie is near enough 2 uninterrupted hours of second act low point for Superman, where it's just right at the start he's already being defeated, and then like that when he's taken, so that obviously we already mentioned how the little cage he's being held in, he sort of got out of that really easily, and again he's like held there with kryptonite. There we go. I keep wanting to say whatever kryptonite. I was thinking about in obviously the original Superman, the moment where Gene Hackman, Lex Luthor, finally procures some bloody kryptonite. And then he like tricks Superman. It's like, oh no, Superman's been hit with the kryptonite, and Lex Luthor's about to detonate a bomb that's going to cause a massive earthquake on the San Andreas fault. It's like, oh no, everything's happening. Oh, Superman, he's got to overcome. I actually don't remember how he saves the day, except for that he flies backwards around Earth and reverses time. But whatever. Anyway, like that's the thing that works because it's like there's not too much of a threat, and there's oh no, look here, literally the entire beginning of the movie. 3/4 at least. It's just constant. Oh no! I honestly, by the end of it, I just did not care at all.
Yeah, no, he is constantly getting beat up, but I think that's what James. Again, this Superman character is meant to be kind of.
It's stylistically designed to be that way.
Yes, that is true. Like this Superman character is meant to be hopeful, and James Gunn is like, no matter how much he gets beaten down, he gets back up. That's kind of the point, you know.
Never gonna keep him down.
It's in direct contrast to the Man of Steel Superman, which again he's meant to be like so cool and so powerful and like a god, you know. And this guy is certainly not meant to be that. He's going to be more of a
super cock.
Oh shucks, Superman. Yeah, like a super cook. But yeah, it'd be good if there was maybe a middle ground potentially, you know. So when he does get beaten up, it hits more, you know. That would be better as well. So yeah, still I don't think James Gunn nailed Superman in this portrayal, but I do think it's still a better portrayal than Zack Snyder's Superman though. So I'll say that.
Well, that's very what's the word I'm looking for? Magnanimous of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's talk about the ending or the twist at the end with Ultraman now.
Yes. Superman and Mr. Terrific fight the Engineer and Ultraman. After Superman defeats the Engineer, he learns that Ultraman is a clone of himself created by Luthor. With Krypto's help, Superman defeats Ultraman and knocks him into a black hole beneath the rift. Oh, yeah. I actually wanted to say, I came up with an idea for this was the one thing I was going to say as a nitpick, and I forgot to say it. Superman seems to save himself from a black hole by breathing out really fast, but my understanding is that the way that like air dynamics works is that you push into, like, you knock yourself away from matter, but obviously a black hole's a void. So there we go. That's my criticism.
This should have been a nitpick. But yeah, so Ultraman, not enough attention is paid to Ultraman, considering, you know, he's as powerful as Superman. Yeah. Being as powerful as Superman is kind of crazy. And then, of course, the twist at the end is that he is a clone of Superman. I remember when this twist happened, I kind of forgot about Ultraman. Because, again, there's so many fucking things happening in this movie.
I also forgot. You'll be shocked to hear, Luke, that I, of all people, forgot about Ultraman.
Yeah, and so firstly, he's the Hammer of Baravia. And it's like, he's actually Ultraman. It's like, okay, well, you've thrown two things at me at once. And then Ultraman doesn't appear that often throughout the rest of the movie. And so by the time you get to the end, it's like, oh yeah, there's this Ultraman thing. I've heard that name a few times. Oh, he's a clone of Superman. Again, like, more attention needs to be paid to this guy.
Do you know what it reminds you of? In Family Guy, when they have the fucking Jerry Springer parody, it's like, I've got a confession. I'm not a woman. I'm a man. I'm not a man. I'm a horse. I'm not a horse. I'm a broom.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, Diane, I am surprised. That's what I was like. I'm not the Hammer of Baravia. I'm Ultraman. I'm not Ultraman. I'm being controlled by Lex Luthor. I'm not being controlled by Lex Luthor. I'm Superman. To be honest with you, I am surprised.
Yeah. It's there's if you are going to do something like this where there's a lot of layers, you need to again bring more attention. I've used that word again, but that's the best word for it, to this character, so the twist hits differently, and that should be a big deal. It's like, it's a clone of Superman. Of course, Superman is the most powerful, metahuman there is. So who can defeat him? Well, the same, literally a clone of him. Not good enough there, unfortunately. That's just because, again, like, it's so much shit has to be crammed into this movie, and that's the common problem throughout the film. But yeah, let's get on to the ending.
Yes, so Luthor lures Superman back to Metropolis by opening an unstable portal to the Pocket Universe, creating a rift in reality that splits the city in twain. Luthor says he orchestrated the Jahanpur conflict as an excuse to implicate Superman. Driven by envy of his public admiration despite being an alien, Superman challenges his ideology, but Luthor remains defiant. Lois and Jimmy expose Luthor's schemes to the public, clearing Superman's name. Luthor and his associates are arrested. Wow, powerful.
Yeah, so the rift thing is just bullshit. I'm just like, why? Because again, Luthor apparently creates the rift as a distraction to get Superman to Metropolis. You don't need to do that. And it's the same thing like all these superhero movies do, where there's a villain, but also there's like an existential threat that threatens the city, And this is another example of that. And it's just like, So fucking shit. And yeah, again, the resolution with Lex Luthor. Again, he gives a big speech about he's the last hope for humanity, but like why? I just don't know. I just don't like the where he's when he's beating up Superman, going 1A, 1A, and saying, I'm the last hope for humanity. That should hit hard, but it's like I don't know why he's saying it. I don't really believe like his motives, to be honest with you. And then yeah, at the end, like everything worked out well for Superman because Luthor, has been implicated, and yeah. But the thing is, again, he's so powerful, and he'd be so corrupt, Luthor. Like he'd insulate himself, he'd make it so.
Yeah, he does get defeated pretty easily. Yeah.
Are there any consequences for Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg, for instance, or any fucking other tech CEO? Nope. They can do whatever they want. And even this, again, like he didn't even like. Yes, he created a rift in time, in Metropolis. Of course, that's a pretty big deal. What he's done. But like he could say, there was a glitch,
Yeah.
There
this is why they have to get him with tax fraud.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just not believable. Again,
yeah, he would insulate himself.
Yeah, again, you want to dip your toe into realism, so I'm asking you to follow through that realism, and this movie just doesn't want to do that, and that's the issue. Anyway, Michael, let's conclude. You go first.
Yes. So overall, I'm going to say something that's going to shock you to your core. I actually think, and I do need to rewatch it. I think as a movie, I marginally prefer Man of Steel. This, I'm sure, is a real twist in the tale. But the thing is, like, for me, Man of Steel, as a Superman movie, I feel like it kind of works better because you have, like, Superman, he feels like this just crazy powerful person. There are, I think, like, benefits to this because you do have a Superman that feels slightly more, like, real and, like, he can actually... like there's more stakes, but I kind of feel like this film goes the other way where there's so many stakes. But to me, the biggest issue with this film is that it just there's so much stuff that it genuinely did feel like Marvel after it got bad. And I was looking, and I on IMDb have rated Man of Steel a 4. I could give this a low 4, but genuinely, I feel like actually I think it's quite a serious problem when a film just like throws so much shit at the wall and as such kind of none of it ends up sticking. I was sort of just like very disengaged from this film. I'm actually going to give it a high 3 because for me, like to be just like for the film to be Superman and I was just totally like, okay, now this is happening for most of it. And we have had far more criticisms and compliments. Yeah, I actually think this is a high 3 and the best I could go is low 4. Which sounds nicer. Low 4 sounds a lot nicer than high 3. But yeah, I'm going to say high 3. I genuinely think this film's actually, like, these criticisms we've said, they really add up, and there's not much to recommend it.
Yeah, I'm going to give this a 4.5. That's what I put down. So slightly better than you. I gave Man of Steel a 4, by the way. I just checked. 8 years ago, I gave it a 4. So yeah, 4.5. It's not awful.
Yeah.
But it's, really quite bad. And again, yeah, you want to again, Man of Steel and this movie, they have different flaws. Man of Steel was like, we're doing the realism thing. What if Superman was, existed in this world, and then you execute that badly, and then you again, there was just so much a massive problem with the final act. Of course, everyone knows that in Man of Steel. This one, it's like, we want to do the realism thing a bit, but we're not fully committing to it. Okay, then I have issues with that, because then when am I meant to think, logically and rationally about what's happening in the movie, and then when am I meant to turn my brain off? Again, there's a conflict there, which I don't think works. And then again, just how much shit is packed into this movie, and certain things aren't, given the proper attention and coverage that they need to be given. And it affects the movie. Again, I don't think Clark's character arc was that good. I don't think his relationship with Lois, even though it started off decently, was that good. And then there's the overall problem, which Lex Luthor's motivations, that wasn't good, and of course the geopolitics, it wasn't that good. And then what we talked about right at the start, which is like by immediately being thrust into this world, we miss out on the best parts of Superman, which again is another issue entirely, But it's been a pretty bad start, I think, to the DCU. Let's see if they do better with Supergirl, Michael, because that's what we're going to discuss next, or we're going to predict what it's going to get on Rotten Tomatoes. By the way,
interesting.
We did The Devil Wears Prada 2. You got that Rotten Tomatoes score bang on, by the way. We haven't discussed that yet. Yeah, you guessed 78. It was 78 on Rotten Tomatoes. I guessed it would be 65. So I got it wrong I was off by 13. Let's try.
How embarrassing.
Let's try Supergirl, shall we?
All right.
Have you got a number?
Yeah.
Okay, I've got a number as well. 3, 2, 1,
88.
79. Okay, wow, you went really high. 88.
I'm banking on woke. I feel like because it's got a woman in it, people are like, well, I'm not sexist, so I have to like Supergirl.
Yeah, I think it's going to be quite decent, 79. But let's see. Maybe you'll be right. What are we reviewing next time, Michael?
Well, we're going to watch a movie about how aliens should actually be treated, and that is, of course, Independence Day. If only we had Lex Luthor then, that would actually be a great result.
No, that's the thing. If the aliens in Independence Day were like Superman, or Superman was like these aliens, then Lex Luthor would have a point. He would have a good motivation. But yeah, join us for that next time. Who have you been, Michael?
I've been Michael.
I've been Luke. Thanks for listening, and goodbye.
Goodbye.